Yeah, so I think in conclusion, or in summary, as to what the videos are that I've posted, I just think that there's two separate playlists, as to where there's one playlist where I'm almost complaining and highlighting stuff that's really happened over the last 3 years or so, such as events of torture or serious harassment, and just really complaining about some of the situations or positions or predicaments that have happened and stuff. But the other playlist is just me not really doing anything whatsoever, just sat around complaining or whatever else through forums and stuff. There's no real meaning to them, other than anybody watching them could get a rough idea as to the behaviour of, it could prove I am not mentally in any way. So those two playlists combined total to 50-60 videos, I think, 50 videos or less maybe, but there's enough there to obviously prove, probably beyond reasonable doubt, that any death would be illegal through hunger strikes, torture, complaints and so on. So an illegal death panel is obviously the priority for if I was to ever die or whatever else, through protesting, through hunger strikes and stuff. That's basically the whole point of the channel and stuff, but this has just been something that I have tried to keep on track with over a few years. Basically, I would have sympathy for anybody, which is quite a lot of people that they don't know, that are getting controlled lives and can't progress, whether it's for education, marriage, housing, mortgages and so on. Nobody can really get that whilst they're being tortured. So after maybe 10 years or more, up to 15 years of moderate torture, but definitely 10 years of severe torture, I think these videos now can prove beyond reasonable doubt that the National Probation Service have actually committed quite a serious offence. And I believe that I've now proved beyond reasonable doubt that it is an illegal death, and I've labelled it as a crime against humanity, or due to misuse of information, which either of the two are quite severe issues and both illegal. That for me has obviously prevented me from getting married, buying a home of my own, or having children for quite some time, for over 10 years. The process has been explained before as pulling the rug from under somebody. So it's a process whereby institutionalising a member of the public, forcing them into an offence or a crime, sentencing the individual or locking the individual up in prisons or institutes, and then institutionalising them a second time to take full control over their lives, to use them as a pawn, or the only reasonable definition I can explain is a robotic state, as to where they're under full control under the officer's influence. This is quite a serious infringement of people's human rights, and is actually a known infringement. Pulling the rug from under a member of the public is quite serious, especially when they're 18-year-old, 19-year-olds, 21, under 25 years old, needing to get married and buy a home of their own. Quite a serious problem. But as for the probation officers themselves, or the individuals, I believe the channel and the complaints and whatever else and the avenues that have been used can prove beyond reasonable doubt that they are not only irresponsible, but realistically acting erratically and quite silly. This is causing some serious issues in the public and in society, whether they keep their job or not, or whether the consequences are more severe. But definitely it's an illegal death. So the channel basically highlights an illegal death due to National Probation Service torture on a member of the public that needed to get married, buy a home of his own and have children, and has never been able to do that due to over 10 years of torture and harassment. He's been neglected of a life due to National Probation Officer harassment. This is a reoccurring incident that's happening quite regular for members of the public, not really progressing, the flattening of the working classes and stuff, but for me it's an illegal death, crime against humanity and misuse of information. I don't know if there's anything else that needs to be mentioned other than I've never suffered from any mental health issues, and the probation officers themselves have neglected or prevented me from getting married, having children or buying a home of my own for over 10 years. That in itself is an illegal death. But the pulling the rug in scenario or situation is, as explained, deliberately going out into the public, hunting down members of the public, institutionalizing them, forcing them to offend, getting them to offend, then taking them back on whilst they're in prison or in institute and doing it the second time, to the point of where they have no control over the behaviour, they have no influence whatsoever, they are complete under full control of the state themselves. So you never see anybody again that's had the rug pulled from under them. So they're not in a fit state to conform to society as such. That's what homeless people are, and people who cannot get into full-time employment. So I don't know what the sound's like on this video. The microphone's not really working too well, but that is really all. That's literally all that needs to be said. I don't know what else to say about it. The torture in a rubber band, it's stupid, it's excruciating, it's silly. The physical torture that they can put on you is absolutely frightening. So, as I've said, I don't know what the sound's like on this video, but the sounds doesn't I don't know if it's working well or not, but I'll post it either way. But yeah, there's no reason for probation officers to be on the public. They're a nuisance, they're a scourge on society, they're costing an absolute fortune on illegal deaths, forcing serious, brutal and heinous crimes such as murder and stuff just through their own messing around as children, as well as an abundance of suicides and self-harm to members of the public, £25,000 per annum. So, after concluding this video, I have no more else to say really. The date today is the 24th of the 4th 2022.